I wasn't looking for anything. That's the part that sticks with me most. I wasn't suspicious. I wasn't digging. I wasn't playing detective. I was just catching up with a client I'd been working with for years. We've done a dozen cybersecurity builds together, always remote, but over time it had become more than just business. We joked, shared dumb memes, even talked about meeting up one day if he ever passed through Denver. His name's Tony, mid-50s, runs a marketing firm out of Nashville. Good guy. That Saturday afternoon, we hopped on a call to finalize a server migration. At the end, he said, "Hey, check this out. We finally threw a client appreciation bash last weekend. Hired this local events agency. They brought a crew, food, even a videographer. Real production, man." I leaned back in my chair, sipping coffee, half listening. He turned his phone to the webcam and hit play. It was vertical footage, a little shaky, taken from what looked like the end of the night, music low, lights dimmed. A small crowd on a rooftop patio drinking wine and swaying to some acoustic guitar. Then I saw her. Leah, my wife. She was sitting on one of those outdoor couches, a wine glass in hand, laughing at something someone off camera said. Not unusual. She's an event planner. It's her job to be where the energy is. But what stopped me cold wasn't just her smile. It was the guy sitting next to her, arm draped behind her, fingers brushing her shoulder like it belonged there. Her leaning into him like it was natural, like it had happened 100 times before. The guy was thin, tan, with messy dark hair and a camera strap slung across his chest. I knew that face. I'd seen him in a few of the agency's posts. Marcus, one of the in-house photographers Leah always mentioned, casually, like background noise. Tony's voice brought me back. You guys ever use them? I think the agency's called Spark and Sage. I finished for him. Yeah, that's the one. I stared at the frozen frame, Leah with her head tilted back in a laugh, Marcus smiling at her like she was the only one in the room. You all right? Tony asked. I blinked. Yeah, just surprised. That's actually my wife's agency. He chuckled. No kidding? Small world, huh? I ended the call soon after. Played it cool. Didn't ask for the file. Didn't say a word. But inside, something had shifted. Not exploded. Just clicked. The video wasn't damning on its own. No kiss. No confessions. Just body language. But the kind of body language that told a different story than the one I thought I was living. It looked practiced, familiar, comfortable, like it wasn't the first time. I sat there in silence long after the call ended. I replayed little things. Weekend trips. The way she always mentioned the team, never names. Her overnights in Fort Collins, Albuquerque, Omaha, always for work, always fully booked. And Marcus? He always seemed to be on those same jobs, according to her schedule. I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was reading into it. But then I remembered the upcoming trip. Another weekend, another out-of-town event. I hadn't asked who was going yet. So I stood up, walked into the kitchen where Leah was meal prepping, and said, "Hey, who's on the team for the Kansas thing this weekend?" She didn't look up. "Oh, just the usual. Me, Monica, Jen, and Marcus. Maybe Tina too. Not sure yet." I watched her face carefully. There was a pause. Barely half a second, but enough. Then she added, "Why?" I shrugged. "Just curious." She smiled. "Well, don't be. I'll be back Sunday night." And just like that, she changed the subject. But I wasn't curious anymore. I was suspicious. And I was done brushing that off. After that night, I couldn't stop thinking about the video. Not obsessively. Not like I was spiraling. It was quieter than that. More like something humming just below the surface. A feeling I couldn't shake. Leah moved through the week like she always did, confidently, with that calm event planner energy. She had a schedule, a plan, deadlines. Even at home, she was never flustered. If anything, she seemed lighter lately, more energized. Always texting, smiling at her phone, making to-do lists in her head even while brushing her teeth. And me? I started watching more carefully. It's funny how, when you start looking, everything sharpens. Patterns you used to ignore become obvious. Habits turn into clues. Leah started staying later at the office. Not every night, just the ones before trips. Said she had to prep, coordinate, load materials. Normal stuff. Except now, I'd watch her come home flushed, not tired. Hair still neat. Lip gloss fresh. She used to come home in sweats, hair in a bun, grumbling about vendor calls. Now she looked like she'd just stepped out of a magazine. I asked her once, "Did the meeting run long?" She smiled and said, "You know how it is. Logistics always take longer than they should." And that was that. But I noticed other things too. Her phone used to live on the nightstand or the counter. Now it was always on her. When she showered, it went in the bathroom. When she cooked, it stayed screen down. Once, I caught her reading a text and smiling before quickly locking it and tucking it into her hoodie pocket. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I wasn't ready to accuse anyone. I didn't even know what I believed. I just knew something felt different. And once you feel it, really feel it, you can't unfeel it. I went looking, not snooping, not hacking, just paying attention. I found the agency's Instagram. Buried between promotional posts and vendor shoutouts were behind-the-scenes stories. Leah barely appeared in them, but Marcus? He was everywhere, holding lights, laughing with the crew, posing with the clients. And in 3 different stories, I spotted Leah in the background, always near him. Then I found something else. One of the posts was tagged at a venue in Omaha from 3 weeks ago. Leah had been there on a weekend job. Crazy weekend with the best team, the caption said. I recognized the hotel in the background. I pulled up the hotel's website, clicked through the rooms. All suites. 1 bed per room. My chest felt tight, but not from rage. From resignation. It made sense now. The shared rooms. The late nights. The way she never said, me and Marcus. It was always the team. Always vague. And when I looked back at her calendar, I realized something else. Every out-of-town gig in the last 4 months, Marcus was on it. Every single one. That night, we were eating takeout on the couch. She was talking about work, an overbooked florist, a bride who changed her mind about the color scheme last minute. I nodded, gave all the right responses, but I was miles away. At one point, I asked, you and Marcus work together a lot, huh? She didn't flinch. Yeah, he's one of the best shooters they've got. I nodded. You two get along? She hesitated. Just a second. Sure. Why? I shrugged. Just curious. She didn't answer that one. Just went back to her food. But I watched her more than I listened. The way her fork hovered in midair. The way her shoulders tightened. The way she didn't ask why I was asking. That was the moment I knew I wasn't wrong. The trip was coming up. Kansas. 2 nights. She was already packed. Her black duffel bag by the door. Her clipboard. Her branded planner. Her curling iron wrapped neatly in a towel. Friday morning, I made coffee like I always did. She kissed me on the cheek and said, be good while I'm gone. And I smiled and said, you too. But I wasn't playing along anymore. I already had a plan of my own. I waited until the end of the day. Not because I didn't want to act, but because I knew I had to be calm. I had to look normal, sound normal. No drama. Just a guy stopping by his wife's office. Her agency was in a shared workspace downtown. All glass and trendy plants and curated playlists humming low through ceiling speakers. I'd been there once, maybe twice, when she first started. Back then, I was proud of how fast she was moving up. Now I wasn't sure what I felt. I walked in carrying 2 iced coffees, 1 black, 1 with oat milk and cinnamon. Per usual. The front desk girl looked up. Hi there, can I help you? I'm just dropping by for Leah. Thought I'd surprise her. She smiled. She's out this weekend, Kansas wedding. Whole team left this morning. Right. Yeah. I nodded. I figured. Thought I might say hey to someone from the team. Monica or Cassidy. The receptionist tilted her head. Monica's out too, but Jess is upstairs. She just got back from setup. Jess. That was the manager I remembered from a few of their group photos. Blonde, always smiling. She wasn't close with Leah, but they worked together often enough. The receptionist waved me through. Take the elevator to 3. Turn left. Jess was sitting at a high table near a fake tree, typing on a MacBook and eating from a salad container with no dressing. She looked up as I approached, blinked twice. Oh, hi. Hey, sorry. I'm Leah's husband, Evan. Recognition flickered across her face. Oh, right. Yeah, I've seen you on her stories. Nice to meet you. We shook hands. She was polite, friendly, not defensive, not yet. Hope I'm not interrupting, I said. Just figured I'd say hi. I'm in the area. All good. She closed her laptop halfway. They just headed out this morning, actually. Big event. I know. She mentioned Kansas. I smiled. She ever get nervous before these trips? Jess laughed lightly. Leah? No way. She's like, built for this. Calm under pressure. I nodded. Let it breathe for a second. Then I asked, casually, does she usually share rooms with anyone on these trips? The agency covers that, right? That's when it happened. Just a blink. But her face shifted. Not shock. Not panic. Just a tiny pause, like a split-second delay between thought and reaction. Oh, I don't really handle booking, she said. Leah usually works that stuff out directly with Marcus. She said his name like it was nothing, like it didn't mean anything. I nodded again. They work closely, huh? Just looked around. Her voice dropped half a note. Look, I don't want to get in the middle of anything. I'm not trying to cause trouble. You're not, I said gently. I'm just asking. That's all. She sighed, played with the edge of her napkin. I can't say for sure what happens on those trips. I mean, people do what they do. But yeah, they've shared rooms. Not always, but often. Everyone kind of knows. Knows what? That they're close. Her voice was careful now. Measured, like someone walking barefoot across glass. She shrugged. Look, I don't want to assume. They're adults. Maybe it's nothing. But it's been going on for a while. No one asks anymore. I didn't speak. Just nodded. Just looked at me then. Full on. I'm sorry. I stood there for a moment, the coffee in my hand still cold. It's okay, I said quietly. Thanks for being honest. She looked down at the table. Sometimes people don't want to know. I didn't, I admitted. But I do now. When I got back outside, I threw away her coffee. Mine too. The sun was starting to dip, and the city buzzed around me like any normal Friday. I didn't feel angry, not even sad, just clear. She'd crossed a line, not because she slept with someone else, but because she let it become normal, because she let me become blind, because she trusted that I wouldn't look too closely. Well, I had, and now I was done pretending. She left early Friday morning. The apartment still smelled like her shampoo when I walked back in from watching her car disappear down the street. Her overnight bag was gone. Her planner, too. She always brought it, like a security blanket. The front door clicked shut behind me, and for the first time in a long time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt clean. I stood in the middle of the living room, taking it in. The little couch we bought off Facebook Marketplace. The framed print she insisted on hanging above the TV, even though it was crooked. The mug she left on the counter, still half full of cold coffee. All of it felt like a museum exhibit, like a life that looked good from the outside but had long since been hollowed out. I didn't rush. I opened the hall closet and took down my duffel bag, the same one I used when we first moved here, back when everything was fresh and possible. I started with the essentials: clothes, laptop, chargers, the hard drive with my work archives. Then the small things: my journal, the book I kept trying to finish, the framed photo of my dad from college. I didn't take everything. I wasn't running. I was leaving. There's a difference. Around noon, I paused, sat at the kitchen table with a sandwich I didn't finish and a blank sheet of paper. I thought about texting her. I thought about writing something dramatic, angry, final. Instead, I wrote what I needed to write. Leah, I know. I won't make a scene. I won't ask you to explain something you've already decided. You'll get the divorce paperwork by mail. There's nothing else to say. Evan, no accusations. No guilt. Just the truth. I folded the note and left it on the kitchen counter, right next to the half-drunk mug of coffee she'd forgotten. Or maybe hadn't forgotten at all. Then I looked around one last time. I didn't cry. I didn't clench my fists. I didn't whisper a goodbye. I just picked up my bag and walked out the door. My sister lived 2 hours away. I didn't call first. I just drove. Windows down. Music off. The wind was enough. When I pulled into her driveway, she was standing barefoot in the yard, holding her toddler on one hip and a juice box in the other. She looked at me, looked at the bag, and said, "All right, what happened?" I shrugged. "Can I crash for a bit?" She didn't ask any more questions, just nodded toward the guest room. That night, I lay on the twin bed in her spare room, staring at the ceiling fan spin. I thought I'd feel broken, but I didn't. What I felt was final, like closing the last page of a book I didn't even know I was done reading. There were no more what-ifs, no more hope that she'd change, or that I'd been wrong, or that it was just a phase. I wasn't in pain. I was in clarity. And clarity, I've learned, is a kind of freedom. She got home Sunday night, the same way she always did, voice on speaker as she came through the front door, keys jingling, heels in one hand, half laughing at some leftover story from the road. Except this time, the apartment didn't greet her back. No lamp on in the corner. No soft hum from my monitor in the home office. No faint smell of takeout because I forgot to cook again. Just stillness. I wasn't there. She must have noticed right away, but I imagine it took her a few seconds to understand what she was seeing. The duffel bag wasn't by the couch. My jacket wasn't hanging by the door. The charger she kept borrowing wasn't plugged in beside the bed anymore. And then she saw the note. It was still sitting exactly where I left it, folded once, square, patient. I picture her standing there, in the middle of the kitchen, maybe still holding her phone, maybe still waiting for her weekend to fade into routine. Then reading. I don't know how long she stood there. I don't know if she cried, or got angry, or stood in stunned silence. What I know is her first call came 7 minutes later, blocked. The second, 3 minutes after that, also blocked. The texts came next. I didn't read them, just watched the notifications stack up like hail against a window you already closed. "Evan, please call me. Can we talk? It's not what you think." I swear it wasn't serious. By the time she tried emailing me, a rambling message with no subject line, I'd already turned the phone off and left it in the nightstand drawer at my sister's place. I didn't need to hear her voice. Not anymore. That night, she drove to my sister's house. I knew she would. I was on the porch when she pulled up, headlights washing over the steps. Engine still running. She didn't get out at first, just sat there, hands on the wheel, trying to decide whether the damage could still be undone. She knocked 3 minutes later. My sister answered. Didn't open the screen door? She's not gonna let me hide, I had told her earlier. But she also won't let anyone walk through her house with mud on their shoes. I heard their voices, low, sharp, civil. She's not here for you, Leah, my sister said plainly. He asked for space. Give it to him. I just need to talk to him. No, not now, please. No. There was a pause. Then the sound of retreating footsteps and the quiet slam of a car door. She didn't knock again, didn't wait in the driveway, didn't text after that. Maybe for the first time since we met, Leah didn't know what came next. I went to bed early that night, slept straight through till morning. No dreams, no questions, no regrets. The next few days, my phone became a kind of scoreboard I didn't want. Texts stacked up, missed calls, voicemails, first quick and sharp, then longer, then breaking, then desperate. Leah's voice, then Leah's words, then Leah's apologies. I didn't open a single one, just watched the numbers tick up, cleared the badges, set the ringer to silent. But she didn't stop. There were emails, to my personal account, my work account, even the old Gmail I hadn't used since college. The subject lines started simple. Let's talk. I'm sorry, please. Then they grew longer, more frantic. You're not even giving me a chance. You don't understand what happened. I made a mistake. Please, Evan. I didn't read them. I didn't need to. I already knew how every story went. She even tried messaging me on LinkedIn, as if professionalism could slip a plea through the cracks. Evan, this is Leah. I just want to explain. Then came the people around her. First was Marcus. He texted me 2 days after Leah returned to that empty apartment. Hey man, I don't want any trouble. I thought you guys were separated. I swear I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I stared at the message for a long time. It was almost comical. How quickly people scramble to justify things when the lights come on. I deleted it without replying. Next, her mother. I guess Leah called her for comfort, or for strategy, or because it's what people do when their lives start unraveling. Her mom left a voicemail, calm, rehearsed, the same tone she used the time Leah wrecked her first car in high school. Evan, sweetheart. Leah is devastated. I know you're hurt, but people make mistakes. Can't you two talk it through before you do something permanent? Permanent. That word rolled around in my head. Like this was a test drive. Like I just left for a weekend and would eventually come home, ready to negotiate, ready to pretend it never happened. But I wasn't pretending anymore. Not for her. Not for anyone. The next day, the apology messages turned into accusations. I can't believe you just walk out. After everything we've built. If you'd been more present, I wouldn't have felt so alone. You're just running away instead of being a man. Then, after a few hours of silence, it circled back to pleading. I can change. Please, Evan, don't do this. I love you. It's strange how quiet can hurt more than shouting. How not responding says more than any fight. Every time I looked at my phone and chose not to answer, I felt the pain dull just a little more, replaced by something steadier. Not joy, not even relief, just certainty. She was feeling panic for the first time. The same panic I'd felt watching that video, then putting the pieces together, then sitting in a quiet office with a manager who told me the truth Leah never would. But her panic wasn't my problem anymore. At night, I sat outside on my sister's porch, feeling the crickets buzzing in the dark and the cool air settling over the yard. My sister didn't ask questions. She just sat with me sometimes, in silence, or put a hand on my shoulder when I needed it. It was the first time in months that I felt like myself, not the version I had to be for Leah, or for our friends, or for her family. Just me. And it was enough. She asked to see me 4 times before I agreed. The first 3, I ignored. The 4th time, she sent a simple message. I won't ask again. I just want to say it to your face. No promises. No manipulation. Just that. I didn't respond. But the next morning, I texted her a location and time. A small public park halfway between her apartment and my sister's place. Middle of the day. Neutral ground. Nothing dramatic. I got there early. Sat on a bench under a tree where the sunlight barely touched. It was quiet except for the hum of a nearby lawnmower and a few kids laughing on a playground across the field. I sipped a bottle of water, checked my watch. 10 minutes early. 5:1. Then I saw her. She walked slowly, like someone approaching a stranger, not a husband. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was tied back like she hadn't had the energy to do anything more with it. That used to be my favorite look on her. Not today. She sat on the far end of the bench. Didn't speak at first. Just looked down at her hands, fidgeting with the ring still on her finger. Mine was already gone. I left it on the nightstand the morning I left. I didn't think you'd come, she finally said. I nodded but didn't say anything. She looked at me then, like she was searching for the version of me she remembered. The one who brought her tea at night, who rubbed her back when she was anxious, who once memorized every ingredient in her favorite soup just to make it from scratch. He wasn't here anymore. She took a breath. I messed up. Still, I said nothing. I didn't mean for it to be anything. At first, it was just work, just talking. Then it was flirting. Then it wasn't. I looked out across the park. A dog barked. Someone laughed. She kept going. It was stupid. It was selfish. And I knew if I told you, I'd lose you. So I didn't. I lied. Or, I let you assume things were okay. I looked at her, not angry, just tired. If it wasn't serious, I said, why did you risk everything? She blinked. That was the first time I'd spoken since she sat down. I didn't think I was risking anything, she said quietly. I thought, you'd always be there. And there it was. The most honest thing she'd said. I nodded once. I was. Until I wasn't. We sat in silence for a long time. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. Is there any chance? No. Even counseling? No. What if I left the agency? What if I shook my head. It's not about Marcus. Or what you'd change now. She swallowed hard. Then what is it? It's about who I became in this marriage. I disappeared. Leah. Bit by bit. You stopped seeing me. I stopped seeing me. And now that I'm finally back, I'm not going to vanish again. Her face crumpled. Not dramatically, just this quiet collapse, like something inside her gave up. I reached into my backpack and pulled out the envelope. Divorce papers, I said. You don't have to sign them today. Just soon. She didn't take it. Just stared at it in my hand. Like touching it might make it more real. I loved you, she said. I did too. I stood up. The sun had shifted. My shadow stretched long across the grass. She finally took the envelope. Goodbye, Leah. She didn't answer. I walked away. And this time, she didn't follow. The papers were signed a week later. I got the envelope back in the mail, her signature just above mine. No note, no message. Just her name in blue ink, like a form she had to fill out on the way to somewhere else. The process moved quickly. Colorado doesn't require much if both parties agree. No kids. No shared property beyond a couch and a bed I didn't want back. We each kept what we came in with, and everything we built in between stayed where it fell, behind us. My lawyer said it was one of the cleanest filings he'd seen all year. Funny how endings feel tidy on paper when they're anything but in real life. I didn't hear much from her after that. A few emails at first, stiff and practical, like she was trying to prove she could handle this like an adult. Things like, I'll remove my name from the lease this week. Let me know if you want to close the joint account or leave it open for now. There's a box of your books in the hall closet. I can drop it at your sister's. I responded with one-line replies. Direct, civil, done. She didn't push, but I heard from others. Jess, the event manager, messaged me on Instagram. I hadn't expected that. I hope it's okay I'm reaching out. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for what happened. You didn't deserve that. A day later, I heard from another former coworker of hers, someone I'd only met once. She said Leah had taken time off, that the agency was reorganizing the event team, that Marcus had quietly transferred to a smaller branch out in Utah. Rumors started flying after someone from another vendor posted a blurry group photo from a client party 6 months ago, the same one from the rooftop, the one I saw through Tony's phone. This time, though, the comments weren't friendly. People were talking, not loudly, not in public, but in that way professionals do, quietly, cautiously, just enough to shift how someone's name feels in a room. Leah wasn't the golden girl anymore. I don't take pleasure in that. I mean that. This wasn't revenge. I didn't blast her online. I didn't confront Marcus at his job. I didn't burn the house down. But consequences don't need help. They arrive on their own. She lost more than me. She lost her steady rhythm, her clean reputation, the quiet admiration people held for her when she walked into a venue like she owned the place. I think she thought she could balance it all, the marriage, the secret, the appearances, that no one would notice because she was good at her job and careful with her words. But the truth has a way of leaking. And eventually, people started seeing her the way I had, not as someone evil, but someone careless with the things that mattered. By the time the divorce was finalized, I was living in a small rental an hour outside the city. 1 bedroom, big windows, a porch that creaked under the weight of mourning. I'd found work with a local firm that needed cybersecurity help. Smaller contracts, more flexibility, less stress. I made coffee in the mornings without checking my phone. I ate dinner on a plate instead of from the box it came in. I even started painting again badly, but often. I didn't tell anyone I'd moved. Not friends. Not her. Not even my parents at first. It wasn't secrecy. It was peace. One day in October, a letter arrived, no return address. Postmarked from Denver. I knew the handwriting. I didn't open it. I stood there on the porch, sun warming my back, and I let the letter sit in my hand for a while. Then I slid it, still sealed, into the small metal trash bin beside the door. I didn't need to read it. I already knew how it ended. And this time, I wasn't the one left wondering. It didn't hit me all at once. There was no cinematic moment, no storm, no breakdown, no screaming at the sky. Letting go happened the way most real things do. Slowly, quietly, like dust settling after something heavy falls. The divorce finalized in early November. I didn't mark the date on the calendar, didn't light a candle or pour a drink. I just saw the final email, read the subject line, and closed my laptop. That was it. What surprised me most wasn't how relieved I felt. It was how okay I was. Because I'd already mourned the marriage. Not on the day she signed the papers. Not when she tried to explain herself in the park. Not even when I walked out the door. The real mourning had happened months earlier. Back when I was still in that apartment, sitting across from a woman who didn't laugh with me anymore. Back when I watched her text someone else, smile at someone else, shift her weight closer to someone else. That's when the grief started. Not over a betrayal, but over the slow erasure of us. The part where I realized I was showing up every day for someone who had already emotionally packed her bags. By the time I left, the love was already in ashes. I just finally stopped sifting through them. People asked, gently, if I'd seen her since. I hadn't. I didn't want to. Not out of bitterness. I just made peace with the fact that whatever version of her I loved, the Leah who once danced barefoot in the kitchen, who cried at sad commercials, who curled into me like I was her anchor, she was gone. Or maybe she never existed the way I thought. And that wasn't on her alone. I'd ignored things I didn't want to see, laughed off things that hurt, chose peace over honesty. Maybe I was scared. Maybe I thought love meant letting yourself fade so the other person could shine. But real love doesn't ask you to vanish. Some nights, I still thought about her. Not in longing, just reflection. I'd wonder if she ever walked into the apartment and forgot I was gone. If she ever reached for her phone and expected a message from me. If she played our songs in the car and skipped them before they got to the second verse. Sometimes I thought about Marcus. Whether they tried to make it work. Whether they lasted longer than the thrill. Whether she looked at him and felt everything she once thought she'd feel with me. But those thoughts were like leaves. They landed, fluttered, and then blew away. They didn't stick. Around that time, I got a message from a friend we used to share, a guy I hadn't heard from in over a year. He'd always liked both of us, tried to stay neutral, but I could tell from his tone that the fallout had made its rounds. He said he saw Leah recently. She'd moved out of the apartment, gone quieter online, seemed like she was trying to get her balance back. I didn't ask for details. I didn't ask about Marcus. I didn't ask what she said about me. I just replied, "Hope she's well." And I meant it. I really did. But hoping someone's well doesn't mean you want them back. It just means you've let go of needing them to hurt the way you did. Letting go isn't an event. It's 1,000 tiny choices. To not respond. To not look her up. To stop replaying conversations you'll never have. To make coffee in the morning without wondering who else she's waking up next to. To smile at a stranger without feeling like you're betraying something that already ended. I made those choices. Every day. And over time, they got easier. It's strange how life settles after something breaks. Not perfectly. Not without scars. But like a river finding its path again after a flood. I live in a small house now, tucked behind a grove of pine trees on the edge of town. It's nothing fancy. One bedroom, creaky floors, a yard that needs more mowing than I ever feel like doing. But it's mine. Every morning I brew coffee in a chipped old French press I found at a thrift store. I sit on the back porch and let the quiet fill in all the places where noise used to live. No text buzzing. No tension humming beneath conversations. Just birds, wind, the occasional bark of a neighbor's dog. For the first time in years, I know what peace feels like. It's not exciting. It's not cinematic. But it's honest. Work is steady. Nothing glamorous. Small clients, secure networks, lots of early mornings and problem solving. But I like it. I like that I don't have to perform anymore, like I did in the last year of my marriage. No more pretending things are okay while sitting 2 feet from someone who won't meet your eyes. I go for runs now. I started again, slowly, 1 block at a time until my legs remembered how. Not for weight or discipline, just for the rhythm. Just to feel breath in my lungs and pavement under my feet. I sleep better. I eat better. I read more. And when the loneliness creeps in, because it does, sometimes, I let it. I don't fight it or shame it. I just let it sit beside me until it gets bored and wanders off again. That's what healing is. It's not fixing. It's learning to sit still in the silence without panicking. Last week, I ran into someone I hadn't seen since before the divorce. An old mutual friend. She looked surprised to see me, not because I was there, but because I looked different. "You seem lighter," she said. I didn't know how to respond at first, but then I smiled and said, "I am." She asked if I was seeing anyone. I told her the truth. No. And I'm okay with that. Because here's what I know now. I'd rather be alone in peace than partnered in pieces. Leah reached out once more. 2 months after the papers were signed. A short message through email. No subject line. I hope you're okay. I'm sorry again for how things ended. I just wanted you to know that I think about you, and I hope you're finding what you need. I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed the tab and went outside to water the garden. That was the last time she reached out, and I think that's how it needed to end. No dramatic goodbye. No final call. Just silence, and then growth. Sometimes people ask if I'd ever take her back. The truth? I wouldn't take back the version of her who hurt me. But I also wouldn't take back the version of me who allowed it. Because that man, the one who stayed quiet, who tried to love enough for two people, who kept hoping she'd see him, he's gone too. And I don't miss him. I miss the man I was before I started shrinking, before I learned to live small in someone else's shadow. And that's the version I'm fighting for now, the one I'm becoming again. One evening last week, I took a drive. No destination, just back roads and the soft hum of a playlist I made for no one but myself. The sky turned gold. The kind of light that makes everything look like a memory before it even happens. I pulled over by a lake and stepped out, watched the water catch the last bit of sun, and I stood there, hands in my pockets, breathing, not looking back, not looking ahead, just being. And that, I realized, is what healing really looks like. Not revenge, not closure, just standing still, at last, in your own life.